The Pokrovsk direction of the front in the Donetsk region remains a priority for Russian invaders. Russia is now seriously considering a summer offensive campaign, since the spring one is ending unsuccessfully. This was reported on air by the Ukrainian Volunteer Army spokesman Sergey Bratchuk on the Freedom TV channel. The Pokrovsk direction remains a priority for the enemy. We see that this is another spring stage of the Russian Federation's offensive, which will obviously transition into a continuation of the offensive of the summer campaign. Moreover, Russia is already quite seriously considering the summer campaign because the spring one is ending. The enemy has not achieved any strategic successes today, even at the operational tactical level. Near Pokrovsk, despite the intensity of the fighting, the enemy still has not advanced, the speaker noted. According to Bratchuk, the Russian army is using motorized infantry units to carry out attacks in the Pokrovsky direction. These are buggies, motorcycles, everything that allows you to move quickly in a certain direction and, accordingly, try to capture this or that section of the front. Accordingly, the Pokrovsk direction is a priority. The summer campaign is obviously considering another key direction, Konstantinovka, because further, the Kramatorsk-Slavyansk agglomeration and the battles that are taking place in the area of Chasov Yar, Donetsk. It is obvious that the intensity of military actions on the part of the Russians is unlikely to decrease. I would probably even risk assuming that the intensity of these clashes will be greater, said Bratchuk. He emphasized that the Russians will use reserves in the Pokrovsky, Limansky and Kramatorsk directions to the maximum extent possible. Russia is considering them to fulfill the strategic goal for the summer campaign. This is an attempt to occupy the entire territory of the Donetsk region. Accordingly, the Vremyevskoy direction has become more active, because here we are talking about the enemy's advancement towards the Dnipropetrovsk region, but I would consider this not so much as an advancement specifically towards the Dnipropetrovsk region, but an exit to the southern administrative borders of the Donetsk region. Based on this, the enemy is already planning a summer campaign, trying as much as possible to reach the major cities of the Donetsk region and engage in battles there. The speaker is confident. Sergey Bratchuk also noted that the Russian resource is not endless. The standard staffing of the units is far from ideal. There are problems with military equipment, but what there are problems with is personnel. The Russians have enough cannon fodder, the guest of the broadcast summed up.
U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio said he wants to see NATO grow stronger, as he met with NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte in Antalya, Turkey on Thursday. According to Associated Press, the pair spoke to reporters ahead of a meeting of NATO counterparts later in the day to prepare a pivotal summit of alliance leaders next month that will set the course for future European security as America focuses on challenges elsewhere. The meeting in the Mediterranean coastal city of Antalya comes amid a flurry of negotiations aimed at producing a ceasefire agreement between Russia and Ukraine, including talks in Istanbul that Rubio and President Donald Trump's special envoy Steve Witkoff plan to attend Friday. Rubio came to Turkey after accompanying Trump on portions of his trip to Gulf Arab countries. It also comes as Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenski is set to meet with Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan in Ankara today. It's an open question whether Trump or Russian President Vladimir Putin will participate Thursday.
Good morning. Well, good morning. And Marco, thank you so much. You have been working so hard over the last couple of days in the Middle East. You are really making progress. I think this is important. This shows American leadership, not only in Ukraine, where it was the new American administration breaking the deadlock under the leadership of President Trump, but also now when it comes to the Middle East and of course all the other issues in the world, we collectively have to make sure stay stable, and we need American leadership, and you're providing that.
NATO has the opportunity to grow even stronger in the alliance. The alliance is only as strong as its weakest link, and we intend and endeavor to have no weak links in this alliance. So it's setting up nicely, and it's good to see. The President has just submitted a budget for $1 trillion of defense spending, which is unheard of. It's unparalleled. And it's not just spending money. It's spending money on the capabilities that are needed for the threats of the 21st century. All kinds of different threats that look different from the threats in the past. The purpose of NATO is to prevent wars through its strength. And that's why, we want to see it grow stronger. Spending levels among all partners that allow everyone to be stronger and makes the alliance stronger. And also he wants to end wars, and that's the hope with Russia and Ukraine. We'll see what happens over the next couple of days in that regard, but we want to see progress made in that regard.
Thank you. Thank you.
President Donald Trump in a speech in Saudi Arabia urged Iran to take a new and a better path as he pushes Tehran for a new nuclear deal, but he also warned massive maximum pressure if it doesn't come around. According to Associated Press, Trump said at the U.S.-Saudi investment conference he wants to avoid conflict with Tehran but warned that time is running out as Iran makes rapid progress with its nuclear program. As I have shown repeatedly, I am willing to end past conflicts and forge new partnerships for a better and more stable world, even if our differences may be profound, Trump said. But he added, if Iran's leadership rejects this olive branch, we will have no choice but to inflict massive maximum pressure, drive Iranian oil exports to zero. The comments came as Trump kicked off a 4-day visit to the Middle East on Tuesday with his visit to Saudi capital. The latest entreaty to Tehran comes days after Trump dispatched his special envoy Steve Witkoff to meet with Iranian officials for a fourth round of talks aimed at persuading Iran to abandon its nuclear program.
But in a few short months since taking office, we have achieved the swift return of American strength at home and abroad, now working with the vast majority of people in this region who seek stability and calm. Our task is to unify against the few agents of chaos and terror that are left and that are holding hostage the dreams of millions and millions of great people. The biggest and most destructive of these forces is the regime in Iran, which has caused unthinkable suffering in Syria, Lebanon, Gaza, Iraq, Yemen, and beyond. There could be no sharper contrast with the path you have pursued on the Arabian Peninsula than the disaster unfolding right across in the Gulf of Iran. Think of that. Yet I'm here today not merely to condemn the past chaos of Iran's leaders, but to offer them a new path and a much better path toward a far better and more hopeful future. As I've shown repeatedly, I am willing to end past conflicts and forge new partnerships for a better and more stable world, even if our differences may be very profound, which obviously they are in the case of Iran. I have never believed in having permanent enemies. I am different than a lot of people think. I don't like permanent enemies, but sometimes you need enemies to do the job, and you have to do it right. Enemies get you motivated. In fact, some of the closest friends of the United States of America are nations we fought wars against in generations past, and now they're our friends and our allies. I want to make a deal with Iran. If I can make a deal with Iran, I'll be very happy. If we're going to make your region and the world a safer place. But if Iran's leadership rejects this olive branch and continues to attack their neighbors, then we will have no choice but to inflict massive maximum pressure, drive Iranian oil exports to zero like I did before. If you know that, they were a virtually bankrupt country because of what I did. They had no money for terror. They had no money for Hamas or Hezbollah. And take all action required to stop the regime from ever having a nuclear weapon. Iran will never have a nuclear weapon.